Hello and welcome back to the van build series. I'm Naz and together with my wife Rosie we're turning this panel van into a tiny home on wheels. In today's video we're going to be showing you how we fit our bonded windows to the side of the van. Let's get right into it. So to start off with, I had to source the windows. There's so many places you can buy bonded windows online that it can feel a bit overwhelming when you actually come to look. We did our research and we ended up going with a reputable company called Just Campers. They sell individual windows on their website, but what we ended up doing is going with a kit which included the two sliding bonded windows that we needed for the make and model of the van, as well as the adhesive, the primer and anything else that we may have needed to actually get the windows installed. The only thing these kits didn't come with is the rubber U-trim that actually goes around the cut that you make. This U-trim just makes it a nice neat finish when the windows are actually installed and saves you from seeing the bare metal edge. Once the windows were actually bought, it was a case of working out how I was going to get them fitted. So what we ended up doing is coming inside the van and pretty much just tracing around where the double skin of the van actually ends. What we found through measuring and just through common sense was doing it this way would be the easiest and most time efficient way of doing it, and also allow us to have a neat finish when we actually put the U-trim on. So once we knew how we were going to actually put the window in and cut the hole out, with my drill I just drilled pilot holes along the inner skin of the van, which in the end would leave a template of the actual cutout that would eventually be made with the jigsaw. Doing it this way was pretty much foolproof, and seeing as this was my first time fitting a bonded window before, I opted to do it this way to just save myself any issues or to minimise the risk of messing the cut up. Once the holes were cut, I just went round with a permanent marker to join those holes so I know exactly where I'd be going when I actually came to jigsawing the hole. So once I had my panel pilot holed and joined up with permanent marker, I put masking tape around the outside of where the holes are, just to protect the bodywork and to also allow the jigsaw to glide nicely and not get caught on anything. Once this step was complete, it was time for the scary part of actually doing the jigsaw in. To be honest, total transparency, never picked a jigsaw up in my life, so this part for me was pretty daunting, but being as I'd done the pilot holes and I joined everything up with permanent marker, I felt confident enough to just go from one hole to the next, take it nice and slow, and eventually be left with a neat cutout for the window to be installed. So the jigsawing went as smoothly as I would have liked, minus one or two blades which broke on me in the beginning. After I jigsawed about half of the cutout, I just applied some more masking tape to minimise vibration and to keep the panel in place when the cutout was actually finished. So I'd finished the jigsawing and I was so chuffed that I'd managed to do it, and it actually looked relatively well done. From there I just went round with the jigsaw again. There were just a few places where I would need to just jigsaw off a few millimetre just to make it a nice even cut. After this step was complete, it was just down to actually getting the bare metal edge ready to receive the U-trim. So I filed and I hammerite painted the bare metal edge just to avoid rust. The U-trim was installed and this made the hole look really neat and tidy. I used the primer that came in the kit from Just Campers, and I did a 2 to 3 inch bead of continuous primer just to allow the window adhesive a solid bed to actually adhere to. Now, a tip I read about online is to take the adhesive that comes in the tube and to soak it in warm water for 5 to 10 minutes before you actually put the window in. This made the process so much easier because I essentially didn't have the issue of the sealant gun being really hard to press. So when I was putting my continuous bead of adhesive around, it was nice and easy coming out with the sealant gun. I put a generous bead of adhesive around the window frame where I just primed. I'd also primed the window and made sure everything was spotless before I did any of this. And when the time came, I lifted the window into place with the help of my friend and made sure it all lined up perfectly and it was in tight and wasn't going to drop out on me at all. To support this, I just used some masking tape to stop any drop-in, and I quadruple checked that this window was exactly where I needed it to be, and I also came inside the van and made sure everything was fine. Once this was done, it was just a case of leaving it overnight to dry. I am quite lucky that I have a carport to put the van under, so there was no chance that this was going to be exposed to the elements overnight.
Good morning, life. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love.
When I started this van build series, I said in my introduction I was going to be totally transparent about any mistakes I made along the way, and in this case I did. So when I was putting the adhesive on, I must have accidentally left a part of the adhesive not as continuous as the rest of it, and that resulted in a very small leak. Now, I tried to fix this myself originally with some extra sealant just along the top where the leak was actually coming from. This worked temporarily for a few days, but then the leak just magically came back. So I bit the bullet and I took the van to Cymru Auto Glazing, which is a local window fitters in my area, and I basically got them to take the window out, get off all the adhesive and refit. Now, obviously this fitting the first window was a massive learning curve for me, and I'm not too worried that I had to go and get it taken out. What I didn't want to do is leave the van as it was, try and fix the leak here and there, and when the rest of the build was done, further down the line, I'd be left with a leaking window, which could lead to all sorts of issues with the van build. So I swallowed my pride and I got it refitted. Then came the sliding door window. I fitted that exactly the same way as I fitted the first window on the driver's side, and because I'd already learnt everything I needed to know about fitting the window when I did the first one, that window went in much neater, much quicker, and touch wood, it's had no leaks. That's both windows fitted to the van. They've transformed the van massively. They've made the space much more airy and it's a much nicer place to be now. So that's it from me today. If you liked this video and you found it informative in any way, drop us a like. If you're not subscribed already, please feel free to. There's loads more work that needs to be done to this van, so be sure to stick around for that, and I'll see you in the next one.